Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves some tracks from an act named Relentless Pursuit, the first of these titled Repercussions. And if we switch over to here, it's nice to hear more of Relentless Pursuit's music. I have definitely reviewed a fair bit of it over my time doing this stuff. We're going to listen through each of these two tracks today from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. I like the sound design with the guitars on the side, actually, they're kind of dope.
It's just a figment of your imagination. A spark that can shine the mark that scars your eye. Yet the scar is real. That spark is a deception of the mind.
Been going double time with that, the drums is just dope, man. I like what we're trying to do with the vocal melodies here. The way they harmonize with the rest of the instruments and the arrangement is good. It sounds like a few of those notes are getting into a slightly uncomfortable range within the head voice there. So I'm not sure if that just comes down to kind of like riding the razor a little bit there. But still, no, we didn't. I don't think we overextended. And yeah, it's just a really unique sort of vocal tone. The growl parts are fantastic. We're in our element there, I think. Like the different layers, right? And the percussion's absolutely ferocious, isn't it? Nice to have a lead layer over this. You potentially could have gone for a shred lead over here, but I suppose we're keeping it vocal centric. Repercussions. I feel like I'm kind of cheating if I mention what I think the track is about without being totally honest with it. I think from Repercussions, it's about someone who is basically asking, hey, do you really want to sort of choose that option as a way to respond to this? Do you want to do this thing and risk there being consequences for it? The ferocity of it, in terms of the velocity of the vocals plus the subject matter, it is affronting. The combination of the really ferocious, incredibly technical drum patterns with the guitars that are just vicious in that low end. And, it's nice to have the verses being growled and the choruses being clean. There's stuff to appreciate here. It's just I'm not totally convinced with the clean vocals there. It's more, I suppose, that I'm not sure if we're getting the clarity we need with some of the the consonants and stuff like that. I'm wondering if there's a way that we could get more precision with the way the words are being sort of sung. Just getting like more sort of like formed to the individual syllables. But otherwise it's really good. And now we got track number 2, Unending. Let's go. Filtering. Cool to have that little bit of post-production now, man.
Lose yourself in a strange world. I know it's hard to keep your wits about you. You let the loved one to suicide. Another child is stolen from its parents. Pain, hunger, war, and famine. Do I end it all or buried? Please tell me that you were up there. The devil is gripping and ripping at my heart. Don't let your fear overcome your faith. You will on your shoulder.
Is this like... Oh, we'll hear it out. Not as...
The battle. This is the battle. This is the battle. This is the ultimate battle.
I'm not necessarily convinced for the level and the vocals. I think that the guitar, bass, and drums are going together well, and it was nice to have the filtering at the earlier part. The guitar riffs and everything like that are like a non-discussion. Like, I like the way that those rhythm parts are being phrased. The drum patterns are excellent as well. We're writing really great music. It's just if there's any comments I have done with things that could potentially be improved, it's just maybe just checking the mix in mono to sort of like confirm that. Because aside from it sounding like the vocals are kind of swallowing the mix, when they're removed, and there's a real nice tremolo lead in the middle as well. Like, if you listen to the backing, but the tap parts, they're kind of dope, aren't they? It's very kind of magical sounding. Is that a pick scrape on the left? It's pretty fair sounding, isn't it? Is this meant to sort of sound unnerving? I mean, like, the wistful natures of the leads on top. Oh, we're going back to the chorus. So I think this is the upcoming album, if I'm not mistaken, Promise and Creation. So that's coming in 2024. Yeah, so I think that track there was about someone who is struggling with their own situation and maybe questioning their faith in a higher power because of the pain that they're going through. And it's about sort of, I suppose, trying to sort of consolidate the concerns with still having a belief that there's like a higher purpose than that, that like all the pain will be worth it in the end, I suppose. I'm not sure. It's tricky. Like, sometimes I have musicians put through what they think the tracks are about, and I like to sort of listen through it myself to get my own sort of perspective on it, because I feel like for a review purpose, that's accurate, right? When you're just like an average listener, you are listening to what the story is about. And my interpretation, if I was to sort of, take it from the musician in advance, then that's kind of not necessarily indicative of the actual raw listening experience. If I get close to what the musician thinks the track is about, then the track I think has been successful, and that's probably going to tilt some people, because it's like, but no, if the point of these reviews is for it to be a representation of my interpretation of your music, and that's what this is. I think that it's about, even when you lose some family to suicide or something like that, losing purpose and meaning in the world, it's about trying to find some way to continue that faith, that belief, even in the face of never-ending struggle. But welcome to the conclusion of my review of these tracks from an act named Relentless Pursuit. I've talked about what I think the tracks are about. The vocals I think the growled parts are great. The tone of them is tight. I can see the vocal technique, the mic technique as well. It's nice we've got Pop Filter with the SM7B and that Unending lyric video. I think that there's a lot of promise there. I think that we are choosing really good notes for those clean choruses. I think it makes sense to have clean vocals in the chorus as a contrast to the rougher parts in the verses. I would also suggest that it's just simply, I think, as long as we don't get too close to our upper head voice range, we're fine with the way these are delivered. I preferred the way the words came through in this one to the previous track, but I preferred the previous track, how that was mixed, to this one. I just think the vocals were a little bit too prominent in post-production. But that's not a comment on the actual quality of the performance. I think, again, as long as we don't get too close to the upper range of the head voice, our vocals are good. I liked the talky parts as well, and the other sort of noises we were making. It was very expressive. It explored our range and capacity as a singer. And I think it was very sort of like we emoted in a way that made sense with the lyrics. So I think it was a reasonably effective performance. The tracks were between like 318 and 427, if I don't, misremember that. And I think that that's a good length for these. We had mainly guitar, bass, and drums throughout, with there being verse and chorus sections and little interludes and breakdowns and instrumental parts. There were little lead parts. They're not dedicated lead solos or prominent ones. A lot of them were kind of tremolo pick guitar parts, or the sort of like distant kind of misty leads kind of wafting over the top of it. I mean, wafting always sounds a little bit kind of like patronizing. I don't mean it like that. It's just like kind of like very misty kind of sounding ones. That misty is a better word. The guitar parts were well handled. I liked the expressiveness of the different rhythm parts. We were comfortable with the chugs, explorative of different notes, sort of string skip parts within that low part. We explored the fretboard within the first 12 frets, and I think ultimately it was well phrased. There was a nice sort of variety of different colors in there, from different sort of chord progressions to like melodic parts, and it was definitely metal. It was a very metal performance, and I like the fact that we double tracked at the very least in that first song. It was nice to have those sort of mid-range guitar parts. We could potentially put some keys and stuff in here. Like it's up to Relentless Pursuit, but I think there's room for like another instrument in a mid to higher range there, just to kind of fill out the little sparkly bits up top. It can make it a little bit more sort of magical, but outside of that, it's good. The bass parts, I think, were solid there. The low end was captured well, nice and sort of like balanced. The drums were absolutely tremendous. I think there was just an incredible complexity to different sort of drum grooves and patterns there. We had slower parts, we had absolutely friggin' ridiculous parts. There was a wide range of different grooves and chops there with interesting fills to go, but a lot of the focus was on the double kicks, the snares, and the cymbals, and that's absolutely fine. The instrumental performances within this track were very competent, with the different guitar leads and sort of rhythm parts of the bass and drums in there, as well as maybe some other sort of like synthesis kind of stuff. There might have been some pads occasionally, I think that it was compelling instrumentally. The themes across the board were either quite aggressive or sort of volatile, or they were sort of a little bit sort of emotionally complicated. Like, we were crying out for help, and I think that's something that's very, very important and kind of impressive, because if I think about it, you've got a situation here where if you have nuance to progression and a theme, it indicates sort of a undecidedness, like an uncertainty, which is a difficult thing to sort of capitulate the rest of the elements to, unless the vocals are in step with that, and they were. I think that there was range there. We understand our fundamentals of music theory and composition, and it was a convincing, both tracks were convincing. There was no filler, and I don't think there was really a note out of place. The post-production, with the understanding of my comments prior, which I'm not going to sort of float on too much, it's simply just, I think that the vocals were a little bit sort of too prominent and unending, and I wasn't necessarily sure with the way that the vocals were done in the first track. Did the clean vocals, whether that was a processing thing or like a performance thing. It doesn't mean I think they're bad. I'm just wondering if that is the best if there's anything we could do to sort of like potentially improve them. But I think that with Unending especially, it's just taking the mix, before we release the album and going, okay, how does it sound in mono with these vocals? Can they go down a little bit? I think if we do that before the release of the album, we'll maybe see that we can put it down like 5 dB across the board. 0.5 dB, should I say. But aside from the vocal comments, the guitars in general were good. They chugged. They sound a little bit quieter and Unending. I'm wondering if we're using the same guitar settings and mix. Like, for an album, it can be good to have the same amp settings throughout the album, just so that the guitars sound kind of consistent throughout. It's a one way of tying up an album together, is to have the guitars kind of sound the same, with the same levels. And if you're using a DAW, you can usually sort of have different sort of like session sort of presets with the same levels and the same EQ parts and everything, so that you have it connected for each. So I'm wondering if we're having completely different sessions per track with recording, or if we are sort of like duplicating them. I mean, either's fine. It's just, if you do it the way where you have a completely different session and start from scratch mixing each time, I mean, not only does it take a lot more time, but it also does sound unique to the rest of them by virtue of there being those little changes and bits of sort of like, and those are things that, granted, are very small things, but like, you notice it. You can usually tell when an album was recorded in bits or when it was recorded in a week. And that's the joy, blessing and the curse of modern day, is that, you can't just record at home. So there's less of a sort of like a pressure to record the entire album in a week, like you would in a lot of, like even 10 years ago or 20 years ago in studios. You had to go to a studio to record, and it cost like, I don't know, like $1,000 for a week or something like that. But, minimum. No, it wouldn't cost $1,000. That'd be very cheap. It'd be like a couple of $1,000. But, like that's $1,000. You know what I mean? Money's money. Basically, I think aside from that, the guitars, bass, and drums are usually coupled well. The leads were nice in the middle for the most part. I think that things were reasonably well sort of like leveled in the mix, aside from the comments I made, and things were nice and wide in the stereo field. The music surrounded you. I especially liked the first track, how we came in with things on the side. It was very kind of like atmospheric from the start. There was dynamic range. Things were not the same loudness all the time. It was still nice and loud without pumping, nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression limiting was handled. I mean, effectively, this is my review of this track, or these tracks from an act named Relentless Pursuit, and hopefully you enjoyed them. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.